which deals with blood. So blood is a connective tissue suspended in a liquid matrix. One of its main functions is to transport the vital substances throughout the body, but it's also helping to maintain the stability of interstitial fluid. That would be the fluid between the cells outside the intracellular fluid. It's also important for distributing heat. The amount of blood an individual has is going to vary a little bit with body size and changes in fluid concentrations, changes in electrolytes, and the amount of adipose tissue. It's about 8% of the body weight, and an adult blood volume is 4 to 5 liters in a female, 5 to 6 liters in a male, but you can see those two ranges do overlap with each other. Blood cells are mostly blood cells are more correctly referred to as formed elements because 2 out of the 3 are not true cells. They all form in the bone marrow, although some mature in other tissues. And they would include red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. White blood cells are important for our immunity, protection against diseases. The platelets are important for blood clotting, and the red blood cells are primarily there to transport oxygen from the lungs to the tissues. You can centrifuge blood, spin it down, apply more than just the gravity to them, or you can let it sit in gravity and weight, and you'll end up with a tube containing plasma, red blood cells, and then in between those two, a layer of white blood cells. So that top 55 or so percent yellow fluid is plasma. There about 45% is packed red blood cells. And then floating on top of that, less than 1%, and it's sometimes difficult to see. You've got to look close. There's a little fluffy layer of white cells. Those are the white blood cells and the platelets. Percentage of red blood cells is called the hematocrit, or the packed cell volume, but hematocrit is the most common term I have heard. So your hematocrit should be around 45%. So blood is about 45% formed elements and 55% plasma. Within the plasma there are electrolytes, water, proteins, waste, nutrients, and gases. With the proteins are primarily albumins, globulins, and fibrinogen. In the formed elements we have platelets, red blood cells, and white blood cells come in 5 different varieties. They are lymphocytes, monocytes, basophils, eosinophils, and neutrophils. When talking about blood, certainly when working with blood, you should follow universal precautions. Universal precautions are a set of safety measures that are taken by individuals to prevent the transmission of blood-borne infectious pathogens. They came about because of HIV, but they really made a big dent in how many people, especially healthcare workers, lab workers in particular, who were getting hepatitis, and now hepatitis C is out there. It's universal, meaning that you should assume that every patient may have been exposed or may be carrying a blood-borne pathogen. And it's estimated that about 4 to 7% of new cases of infectious disease are transmitted by unsafe injections. That could be illegal drug use. Some specific recommendations include the use of PPE, gloves, masks, especially masks these days. The use of a fume hood if you are dealing with the blood, a fume hood or a laminar flow hood. Sharps collection containers, and a number of workplace practices such as hand washing. There are all kinds of protections out there, and you'll be instructed further in them when you have to work. But again, the idea is treat every blood sample like it's contaminated.